has to win a majority in 5 of the 9. Some of them are more
a plurality.
And so some of them are have fewer voters in them altogether. But
they all have the same population, but some of them have fewer voters.
Right, the same population, fewer voters. And so this came about in 2004 when they changed the model to a strong mayor. I don't even know what you call that.
Well,
model.
when Tim Kaine was mayor, he was a city councilman from the 2nd Ward, and he was elected mayor by the city council. So it wasn't until 2004 that Richmond actually began electing the mayor. It was after Tim left office, and so.
So this is the first time it's become a popularly elected office.
Right.
Okay.
And that's when the strong mayor began.
Yeah, that's why I didn't, and I kind of missed that whole strong mayor thing. I just know it happened in 2004.
Mm-hmm. And Richmond has always been driven by racially split politics. And in the west end of Richmond, which is primarily areas that were annexed by the city for tax base, which are heavily white, that never really wanted to be part of the city of Richmond to begin with, they tend to unite behind white candidates to try to elect them into office. So people, when they were drafting the strong mayor in Richmond, even though it's a majority-minority city, saw this was an area where a small part of the city could potentially overwhelm the rest of the city and elect a candidate of their choosing that the rest of the city did not want, which is why they have almost an electoral college type of system where you have to win 5 wards. If you don't win 5 wards, the top 2 popular vote getters will move to the runoff, but in the runoff, you'll also have to win 5 wards.
Yeah, this is crazy. The Richmond Times-Dispatch today had this article about the different scenarios that could come into being, and it looks like it's really come down to Joe Morsi, who is technically, I guess, a Democrat, Jack Berry, who's been endorsed by some interesting people like Viola Baskerville, for whom I have the greatest admiration, and LeVar Stoney, who a lot of people see as a young newcomer to Richmond who might have credentials at a different level, but not necessarily in the city of Richmond. But he's raised a lot of money. He seems to have a good ground game. But there's still other candidates, too. Now, John Belial's dropped out of the race, although his name is still on the ballot. So dropping out of the race, your name's still on the ballot. So how many people are even paying attention to that?
Right.
But he seems to have thrown his support behind LeVar.
Joe Morsi is going to carry 4 districts for sure: the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th in South Richmond, South and East Richmond. And Jack Berry is going to overwhelmingly carry the 3 white districts in wards 1, 2, and 4. So it's really down to wards 3 and 5. LeVar only needs to win 1 ward, assuming that Joe does not win the other ward, in order to force a runoff. Because obviously, if the 3rd ward, for example, votes for Jack Berry and the 5th ward votes for LeVar, no one will win 5 wards. It's possible that Joe could win the most wards on election day and not qualify for the runoff because his wards have less voters in them. I will say this: I think the governor really put his finger on this, and he got this race right in the Washington Post last week. And when he said, they asked him about Joe Morsi, he said, "I don't attack other Democrats." Jack Berry, who's, I think, what many people call maybe the front runner at this point because of the bad week that Joe had. I think most people would have said Joe was the front runner last week. Now, I think as of today, maybe Jack Berry's a slight front runner. Is someone who's really affiliated with the Richmond Republicans. He's driven by the Republican vote in Richmond. He gets money from the Republican Party. And I think that what the governor was saying there, if I can translate a little bit, is, Democrats have got to elect a Democrat.
Right.
And when you have 2 Democratic candidates like this running, and LeVar obviously is a Democratic candidate endorsed by the party affiliated with the governor. Joe's a Democratic candidate who's actually served in office multiple times as a Democrat, a member of the Progressive Caucus in the legislature. The Democrats lose focus, and some of them actually shift into the Republican. They see the 2 Democrats fighting, and they say, maybe I want to be for Jack Berry.
Right.
And so Richmond's got to be very careful not to elect a Republican mayor. And I thought the governor really put his finger on that when he declined the opportunity to attack Joe and said he's not going to attack other Democrats. I was really glad to see that.
Well, so we've got some other, Lisa Merkel is running for mayor of Herndon.